Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people for your Tuesday, February the 27th. Starting off with some good news if you're a Vegas fan. Eichel is on the road to recovery. He has been spotted at practice in a non contact jersey today, so that's the start of the process. The sooner, of course, Eichel gets back into the lineup, the sooner that Vegas can maybe start winning some games and turning things around. It's been kind of ugly lately. So, yeah, getting Eichel back would be huge. This is a team that's also missing Stone. Again, when you're missing your two best forwards, it's going to make things on the ice a little more of a challenge. Speaking of challenge, and the reason I'm wearing Flyers, a lot of Flyers to talk about. First off, Drysdale is week to week. According to Cam York, he avoided a worst case scenario with his injury. Elliot Friedman reporting the hope is that he'll be back before the end of the regular season, but I would think that they may very well this may change their plans at the deadline. So they acquired Drysdale. Now that Drysdale's out, do you go out and get another defenseman backfill there? There's discussions of an extension with Nick Seeler as well with the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't have it on the board because it hasn't been done yet, and there's just speculation at this point on how much he's going to make it for how long. They've also placed Rasmus Ristolainen on injured reserve. Yep. There's a lot of news with the Flyers today. And Bobby Brink's been recalled. Hey, I'm a big fan of Bobby Brink, even though I wish it was Bobby Brink of the Boston Bruins. But no, they passed on him, and Philadelphia drafted him anyway. So it's still, there's alliteration there, but Bobby Brink of the Philadelphia Flyers isn't as fun. Anyways, hopefully Drysdale's back before the end of the year. And hopefully Konechny's not out that long either. It doesn't look like he's playing tonight, but hopefully he's not out that long. It looks like his injuries more of the day-to-day variety. Speaking of day-to-day injuries, Matthew Tkachuk is playing tonight. He missed one game with the undisclosed injury he had, which doesn't mean he's 100%, just probably means he's good to go tonight. So at this point, we're starting to see a lot of undisclosed injuries. Not really a surprise. We're getting that close to the playoffs and all, so you don't want to tell people what somebody has. You don't even want to give them a hint. So yeah, Tkachuk's playing tonight. We'll see how things go against Buffalo. Brian Rust. So the Pittsburgh Penguins are already without Jake Gensel. Now they're going to be without Brian Rust as well. He's not with the team for their 4-game road trip. It's an upper body injury for Rust. So that's going to make things difficult. Without Gensel and Rust, two of their most talented wingers, it's going to be tough for them to score goals. Tonight, of course, they're in Vancouver. We'll see how that game goes. But yeah, without Rust, it is definitely going to be a bit of a challenge. Maybe it gives Bemstrom a chance to shine a little bit more. Logan Couture. So speculation around Couture, on obviously with the state that the San Jose Sharks are in, makes a lot of sense. He's saying he's not interested in being traded, that he wants to stay with the team. Also says, hey, I'm injured. I'm dealing with the injury right now. And it's the same injury that's kept him out of all but 6 games this year. So we'll see how Couture does, whether or not he comes back before the end of the regular season from this injury, but it does not look like he's going to be on the move. I would think the injury would preclude a move, even if San Jose was leaning towards, maybe making a move there. Logan Couture, though, spent his entire career in San Jose. I would think that if/when the day comes that he decides, yeah, I want a chance to win another cup, that the team will accommodate him. And, all the best to him. I like Logan Couture. Can't not like a player who sacrificed his body for the game, quite literally sacrificed his body for the game. So hopefully he comes back and he's 100% soon, but either way, all the best to him. So I did the Pettersson video yesterday, which did seem to upset some Canuck fans, and then I see other Canuck media being attacked because they're talking about the Pettersson thing. I'm going to say why we're talking about the Pettersson thing. The team is frustrated. The team's not happy. The team wants Pettersson to come to the table and get this done. They want to have their budget for next season figured out, not on July 1st. They don't want to be sitting down and having Pettersson having this drag out. Wait till the season's done. We all understand that Pettersson has himself said, I don't want to talk about it till the season's done. It does not mean that the Canucks are on his timeline. And as I mentioned yesterday, they have Hronik to get signed as well. They have UFAs that they have to either sign or replace. It's a huge amount of their potential cap being tied up in this. So let's just say it's $12 million for Pettersson. And let's say he doesn't sign July 1st. Let's say he goes, I'll think about it. Which again is his right. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's not the bad guy here. But for the Vancouver Canucks, that ties up a lot of money. And this is a team that this year has looked really, really good. This is a team that looks like they're a contender, and they could be a contender for at least the next few years. But the Pettersson thing is going to kind of hold that up, isn't it? And this is a fan base, too, that if something goes wrong with Pettersson negotiations and they end up, let's say, it just drags on, everybody will just turn around and say, management didn't fix the blue line. Management didn't fix things. But that amount of money being tied up in one player could mean that they lose out on maybe a free agent or two in July. Maybe they don't necessarily keep the players they want to keep. So they want to get all their ducks in a row. They want Pettersson to come sit down at the table and at least talk about it, and he won't. And so this is where they're at. This is the situation, and it feels like if he really wanted to stay long term, he'd at least sit down at the table and talk about it. And at this point, he's refused. And again, it's not just me that's been reporting on it. I have heard this from sources personally. Other people have heard it from sources. I don't know if we share similar sources, but others in the media are reporting on it and getting attacked for it as well, which I find just odd. It does not take anything away from the season the Canucks are having. It doesn't mean that this hasn't been a great season. It just means one of the key players may not be here for the long term, which is okay. Again, I learned a long time ago not to get overly attached to players. I would have been upset if Brock Besser got traded a couple years ago and that was all the discussion, but I'm glad he didn't. But if he had, it's not like I would have hated Besser or hated the Canucks for trading him. I just don't get that emotional about a player. Because I know how sports works. I've watched hockey long enough to know anybody can get traded. Nobody's untouchable, and that would include Pettersson. And I also have faith in management. That's the tricky part with Vancouver, has been having that faith in management. It feels like for the first time since Brian Burke, I've been okay with management, where I'm like, I trust that if they're going to make a move, they'll make the right move. And with Brian Burke, that was the case with Pavel Bure. Bure had various reasons for not necessarily wanting to remain a Vancouver Canuck, which Canuck fans now understand better than they did at the time. But and I've talked about that in videos as well. But yeah, if Pettersson goes, I have faith that this management team can put together a deal that will make Canuck fans happy. So that's where I'm at on that. And that's why there's so much discussion, because I don't think they want to wait until the end of the season. And again, if it's, well, Pettersson said, but that doesn't mean that the team has to not want to negotiate with them and not want this done. They don't want to be waiting. The teams that get a guy signed a year out before his contract's up, they have so much, they must sleep a lot better knowing that their key guys are signed. You look at Toronto, Nylander's already done, Matthews, all of that discussion's gone. Now, of course, it's Marner and Tavares for next year, but I don't think that'll be left out there either. So we'll see what happens with Pettersson. But again, I don't think attacking the messenger for reporting what's being told to them, I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. So, because I've talked about it before, I do have sources. I don't have a ton of sources, but I do within certain teams. And obviously, I'm not going to, come out and divulge who those sources are or what information's passed on to me. Necessarily. There's definitely information I've been given that I do not pass on in videos. But yeah, the Canucks situation currently is an interesting one. They're a top team in the NHL. They may very well be headed towards a divorce with one of their biggest stars. But we'll see what happens. And to round things out, we'll talk a little bit about the Boston Bruins. Cam Neely acknowledging that there's a lot of pieces they need, but what he's focused on is getting... Sounds like he's looking for some toughness on the blue line. So somebody who can, throw some hits. And based on last night's game where they had 7 hits, I would say, yep, that would probably be a good idea. The problem is cap space. Cap space is a challenge for the Boston Bruins. So as much as they're looking to add, it's probably going to have to be dollar out, dollar in, or they'll have to dump off a contract and then pick somebody up from somewhere else. And of course, if you're going to dump off a contract, that's probably going to cost you a draft pick or two. So we'll see what Boston does, but there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event that you haven't done so thus far. But thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.